this. I mean, it's frightening. You'll talk to him about something, and before you finish your sentence, he has something funny and intelligent to say about what you're. I mean, like he's lightning. He's lightning. You know, he's just wonderful. I mean, I've and they say he really badmouths me on the show really terribly lately for the last years, and I have no idea whether it's shtick or whether he's actually mad at me for so. I know they were mad at me for leaving the show and breaking up the show, but I have never done anything but sing the highest praises. I mean, he's like Billy. He's so talented. He gives you a headache. You know, we come up, hey, let's do an idea. Let's do something about a gerbil, and he comes in the next day with 20 pages. You know, I mean, he's just that's
psychotic.
He's just
that's psychotic. Wow. Who works that
hard? It's unbelievable.
I might throw a joke at you.
Exactly, and they always make fun of me because I was like, oh, we don't have to do any work, do we? You know,
a beautiful mind.
2 hours. But we would sit there and write song parodies, and people get mad at me for the analogies, but we were Lennon and McCartney, and you could almost go through and pick out the smart lines, the stupid lines, the punchline lines. One of the great stories. You know, my friend Ron Zimmerman has been dating this woman for a while, and it was kind of a secret, but now it's out. Ron Zimmerman, the comedian, do you know him?
Don't know him.
Skinny little guy from Washington, D.C., and knew Howard from way back. Well, he lives with Cher. Of all, I mean,
now he does?
It's an unbelievable match. But I forget, what the hell were we talking about?
Song parodies.
Oh, so we're writing song parodies, and we're sitting there, and Howard always said, don't edit. Write whatever you want. There was sometimes I would write something and hand it to him on the air, and he'd like look over at me like, "What planet are you from?" You know what? One of the most glaring ones was, it was a heinous thing that happened where they dragged a black guy to his death behind a car.
Yeah, Greaseman lost his job from that.
And I passed Howard a note, and he looked at me, and he didn't read it, but the note said, Polish water skiing.
Jeez.
You know, horrible. Yeah. But, you know, you're not thinking about what happened. You're putting A and B together.
Right.
So we're sitting there, and Cher was living with the bagel maker. This is 30 years ago. Rob Camilletti. So she's living with her. So we decide we're going to do a song parody, and it's point of view Rob Camilletti singing "I Got You, Babe." You know, "I Got You, Cher." So we're writing it, and it was always so much fun. And back in those days, me, Howard, and Fred in the office, we had I weighed about 220 because we had a Rishardi ice cream thing that they kept full. So I'd sit there and eat. I'd eat 4 pints of ice cream and be ready for more. You know what I mean? And we sit there, and so you hopped up on the sugar, and we're going a million. And we get to the B section of the song, and I just kind of shook my head. And Howard said, "What?" I said, "No." I said, it is so stupid that I'm embarrassed that it went through my head. And it wound up being the funniest line in the song.
Write it down.
Yeah, because the B part of the song is, I got flowers in the spring. I got you to wear my ring. And it goes, I see London, I see France, I saw Cher in her underpants, and people would drive off the phone. It was so childish.
Of course.
People went fucking nuts for it. Just fucking nuts.
Sometimes that's the shit that works the best.
Because, it's so smart and such a funny point of view, and just the absurdity of her living with a bagel maker in Queens and him singing a song that anything put in there.
And his whole image was the dolt, the mindless boy toy thing. And that fit
perfect.
Logistically,
absolutely
it fits.
perfect.
Was he handsome?
I don't really remember, but I think so. I think he was like, a Guido, a good-looking, nice guy,
And Cher was getting older at that point, so
whatever happened to that guy?
He wasn't going out with Cher anymore.
Yeah,
Back to the bagels, motherfucker.
Nowadays, if it would happen yesterday, he'd have a reality show. He'd have a book deal.
Yep. Dance with the Stars.
Dance with the Stars.
Right.
Yeah. Boy, it was tough back then. You kind of were there and then you were gone.
Yeah. It was like 15 seconds of fame.
Yeah. Now you can hang on for a little longer.
The Billy West Marge shot bit was one of the funniest things I ever heard.
I always wondered if somebody, because the classic days of terrestrial radio and not
that was on regular radio.
I'm
sitting here thinking I'm scared to play it on satellite just to show the people what Billy West
I'm
used
thinking
to
somebody
do.
gets in their car and they're just going through the stations, and all of a sudden you get to Billy West ranting as Marge Schott and the stuff he said. It must have been
the old Cincinnati Reds owner.
Did he sound like her? I don't know what she sounded like.
It was a parody through and through.
But she was so racist that his Marge Schott was so unbelievably off.
The stories about Marge Schott were that she was very racist in the clubhouse and would treat people differently based on their race and what have you. So Billy would just blatantly be, blatantly racist. And how that shit got on the air, I will never know.
I know. March with your brothers. Oh, God.
There was a time, though, you were safe. If you were bringing in good ratings, you could pretty much do whatever you wanted.
It wasn't against FCC regulations.
No, that's what's crazy. As long as you didn't talk about her breasts.
Right. Perish the thought you mentioned her breasts or vagina.
Right, but throw the N-word out there all you want.
Oh, that was fine.
You can show somebody cutting off a woman's breast, but they can't squeeze it after it falls off.
You're right.
That's a great way to put it.
Crazy.
Yeah, we're insane in this country.
We really
especially
are.
Danny. He's a loudmouth.
Oh, my God. He doesn't shut up. Yeah, look, they're all available there somewhere, but...
it's too long to play.
No, it's too scary.
Like to play them is just...
I don't even know.
That was an amazing part of history back then. Like radio history. There was so much shit going on.
I was talking to somebody. You know what was great? Whenever we went into a new market, I was always writing stuff that Howard would say, because he'd always do a speech, like a welcoming speech, would be so outrageous and insult the town or whatever.
Of course.
But it was great because whenever they wrote an article about us getting to town, they would always lead the article with the most outrageous thing he said, and very often it was something I wrote. It's always great fun to see it in print, but what was really fun was when we get fined, and Tom Chiusano would and everybody get a copy of the FCC violation, and to see what you'd written.
Oh, we would all laugh
in print.
Oh, yeah.
It just
yeah.
We've had a few of those.
The first one was the Susan Berkowitz. Susan Berkowitz was our traffic. She was our traffic girl. We call her Susan Berkowitz, and she lost a bet to Howard, so she had to sing a song, and the song was "I Gotta Be Me." But the parody was, I love sodomy. So I have the actual lyrics that I had written out for her that we gave to her, and I also have the FCC official, you have been cited for, and to see it, in print is,
Saying it or singing it is one thing. When you do it over the air, once you read it in a legal document,
I'm down on my knees, I'm begging you, please, I love sodomy, oh, God. Fantastic stuff.
When you got that shit back from the FCC, it was always a lot of fun.
Oh, man.
You're just as long as you had the ratings, you didn't care.
Oh, yeah.
You knew you would get through it.
It's so child.
You would laugh in the boss's office.
You've been fined for talking like a 12-year-old on the playground. Jesus.
And the argument was always, who was it hurting? Who were you hurting by just a song about sodomy like that?
Unbelievable.
Did you ever have sensitivity meetings? Me and Aunt, back in the day when we were in Boston, we had sensitivity meetings.
Not only that,
we didn't even know we insulted a gay group or the gay community. We didn't even know.
Of course.
And we had to meet with a gay group, and they wanted to hand out dittos and reading material, and then they wanted to have a follow-up meeting. And our GM went with it. I'm like, tell these guys to go the fuck away.
It's like saying, I went to alcohol training, But you know what happened when people first started getting sued for sex in the office, sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Tom Chiusano, we had a sexual harassment meeting.
No way.
Shit, that must have been.
And there was a TV screen, and he was going to play the official video he had to play.
Yeah.
And so it was you couldn't write this.
No.
And so
you got to know Chiusano
all of us
too.
And all of the salesmen, and we're all in this room. There's like 50 people in the room. Tom comes in to start the lecture. I had drawn a big cock and put it on the TV screen. And he's trying to talk. And when everybody's giggling, he's like, and he got pissed.
Yeah.
Which made it even funnier. He didn't
took that
just
shit
laugh.
very seriously.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean a big cock.
With
But the
hairy
classic
balls.
thing when somebody's talking and they don't know there's something going behind them, there's got to be a word for that.
That's fantastic.
It was a classic. Man, if I ever make a movie, that scene's going to be in the movie. That was just one. He was so pissed off. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
That's great.
That's the kind of harmless hijinks that's so fun.
And the fact that it's at a sexual harassment training thing is fantastic. Come on.
I didn't mind. I didn't mind Tom.
Oh, he was a great guy.
I didn't mind him. I was surprised. That
Oh, no.
Tom actually turned out to be,
well,
really.
he had to
all
get
right.
mad at me for that. I mean, he had to, Like, it's like a teacher that likes you. If you throw a spitball at him, he might love you, but he's got to say, you can't do that,
Yeah. He'd always do shit like that, and like at those meetings, because we had to go to a couple of those things, and then go, no, this, it's not for air. This isn't for air. And then you'd go right on the air and talk.
Oh, you couldn't wait to go on the air.
Reading, like, we get these big
we drove our
pamphlets.
PD in Boston crazy, because then he would come running down the hall. I told you guys. And then we would play, what? We didn't know. We
You
thought
never
the
said
other
it.
thing.
Remember the
He would
stereotyping?
drive him nuts. He would be literally pulling his hair out. He didn't know how to handle
Remember
it.
the stereotype pamphlet we got about the hurt? What was it called?
Oh, no, Words Hurt.
Yeah, Words Hurt.
It was called Words
That's
Hurt.
when I knew regular radio was over, when they handed out the Words
They
Hurt.
handed those out, and they told us, this isn't for air. Just go through it and read it. And we're reading it and going, how is this not for air? You couldn't sit there as a comedy writer and write this. So it had to be. And we just started reading through it on the air and got
Words hurt. I love having
jammed up.
that conversation with people. Words hurt. It's called a punchline.
Yeah,
If
that's why
nobody
it's
gets
called a
hurt to some
punchline.
degree, there's no comedy.
Right. Yes. And people don't.
Mel
just don't
Brooks'
understand
definition of comedy and tragedy? That's the classic. Comedy is when you fall off a cliff, and tragedy is when I stub my toe. It's like it's all point of view. Somebody gets hurt
funny.
every time you say
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Every time you say something, somebody gets hurt to some degree, or else there's no humor there.
Yeah, and someone will always think there, and I think it's so self-centered to think that you're the only person on earth, so that if it hits too close to home for you, now that isn't funny.
Now that's off base.
But the other day, they were laughing at somebody else's misfortune or whatever it is.
It's like a midget going, say, hey, did you hear about the two Jews?
Yeah, and then a midget joke. It's like, hey, buddy.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
No, but I think that humor has to be aware of. I can't even say it without laughing. I wanted to just see what it was like to say that. I couldn't even get it
aware
out.
of people's feelings, and when it is hurtful, it's just hurtful and not funny.
Yeah, I'd
anymore.
like to see where's the funny. Show
The
me
minute
the
somebody
funny.
starts talking like that, what comes to mind? Did you ever see Coconuts with the Marx Brothers?
Oh, my God, yeah.
And Harpo's at and the guy starts giving the speech, and Harpo's like,
That's behind.
he's walking out slowly, like I'm not staying for this horse shit,
That's fantastic, man. Yeah,
well, that's
some
how to
people
end the conversation with a
Yeah.
Marx Brothers reference.
Hey, sure, why not? That's genius stuff.
Genius
I
stuff.
love watching Day of the Races.
I don't. There's a weird question coming in.
That's fantastic.
Mike in Chicago. Mikey.
Good evening.
Well, Mike.
I want to ask Jackie, what would him, Howard, and everybody else associated with that show thought about when O&A got, that whole church scandal thing going on?
When the Sex for Sam thing took us out, Howard was extremely happy. We were out of his hair finally. I remember that. I
You
remember
weren't on the show by then, right?
Yeah,
I think
Jackie wasn't on the show
got
at that point.
2002. We
already-
got.
no, I
Oh
was
yeah, so
gone.
he wasn't even there.
But
Yeah,
I had a whole definite. I hate the power of the Catholic Church, and to me, and you know what's so funny on stage? You can talk about anything you want. You mention Jesus Christ, they're gone for 2 minutes. So I don't fuck around with Jesus on stage. But if you're not a Catholic, that's a building.
Yeah,
It's just a building, and the guy wasn't beating her up, and he wasn't hitting her with a club. Whether it happened or didn't happen,
exactly.
If a guy had sex with a girl in a building, there was no foul. Maybe, hey guys, use your head. Don't do that again. But the heinous
it got so
aspect,
blown out of proportion too.
To me, it was such bullshit. And I don't care whether it was you guys or Billy Bob or Howard or who it was. It's like. It's unfair that the Catholic Church could have that much power that they could just say, listen, we're going to be angry unless you punish these guys.
Well,
so I had your back, even though it was 2002
Jackie,
and nobody was asking my opinion.
With that said, looking back, oh boy, oh boy,
Wow.
that would
have been a good idea not to do it.
Yeah, that was a tough one
Yep.
to defend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
That
you
was a
didn't do
tough
it
one.
expecting that kind of
No,
shitstorm.
not at all. Not at all.
It was a
Not at all.
perfect. It was a perfect storm that day.
Right.
It got, and I'm
The
sure
guy-
you guys have been in the same situation before, being on radio, where something happens and you know how it happened because you were there and you saw it or said it or wrote it or watched it happen, and then it gets picked up by the news and gets completely twisted around to where it's such an exaggeration.
I'll say it in one phrase. Howard fucking around with the death of Selena.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Who you know? You would have thought. You would have thought.
What exactly happened with that?
Desecrating her body. You would have thought.
She died, and there was like 3,000 people in line.
Checking out the body.
You know, I'm not sure.
She got murdered, right?
Uh-oh, Jackie just fucking edited himself.
What happened? I mean, that was many years ago.
Jackie's thinking.